This is going to be going over the Fallen Land Moonlight Blessing, the second one, just in case anybody doesn't know where to find it in the Moonlight Theater. After you've cleared all of Fallen Land, which would be Act 15 of Season 2, you'll unlock the second Moonlight Blessing, provided that you finish the first one. And for the first one, I released the video for that already, but it's Arbiter Vildred, and then if you already have Arbiter Vildred, it's Ruel, and you go down the list. After you finish that one, just make sure you have the unit that you want, because you won't be able to go back to it. You'll be able to start the Fallen Land Moonlight Blessing, which gives us 7 units to pick from: Bastille Array, Sylvain Sage Vivian, Mediator Kawerik, Remnant Violet, Conqueror Lilias, Commander Pavel, and Astromancer Elena. So let's take a look at all of these units and talk about what they do and why you should pick them. Starting off is Bastille Array. Bastille Array, or DDR, ever since his buff, has been an insane unit, and he is still pretty strong. He's great for RTA, with some usage in Guild War and Arena as well. His S3 strips 2 buffs from everybody, inflicts sleep, and also venom, and gives him an extra turn, so you can use his S2, which gives everybody effectiveness buff, and pestilence, which basically just inflicts venom and detonates after they attack on their turn. With the CR push, and then his S1 spams more sleep, and also deals damage based on how much injuries the target has. So basically, he and his entire team will be spamming injury, or will be spamming venoms, which deals damage and also injures them, rather, and then he'll deal damage with his S1 after they've been injured. And he's got a ton of CC with all of this sleep. The nice thing about him is you can kind of pick him with whatever, like you don't have to pick him with units that synergize with them. Even just picking him by himself is pretty strong. And he's typically picked like 3, 4, 5 in RTA. You see them pick tanks, you can pick DDR. You can pick him earlier, there's better units to pick early these days, but he's fine still if you don't have like a lot of options to pick early. They released Schneel as a DDR counter, but Schneel's not really an insta-win. There's still ways for DDR to win depending on the team comp. For Arena and Guild War, you can run DDR into a lot of bulkier teams without much damage and just kind of whittle them down with Venoms. Some units to synergize with them pretty well is Solitaria. If they have like Afternoon Soak Flan or something, you can just remove all her focus and kill her. And also Solitaria's got a ton of debuffs on her own, plus she'll AoE apply the Venoms. Or ML Shu, who her S3 greatly appreciates the extra Venoms that DDR puts out, and then with like a couple of supports to help everybody stay alive while DDR slowly kills them. His builds are pretty flexible. In general, it's just bulk, speed, and effectiveness. You can go higher effectiveness, higher speed, at the cost of a little bit of bulk, or pretty much like any variation or combination of these stats, I would say you'd see somebody running. Just depends how much you want to use. There's also FRES DDRs, which shouldn't be too common. It's really just FRES players or people with 2 DDRs that they can pick in either situation, which would be like 200 FRES with a little bit of F maybe. And yeah, he's just really good for PvP, easily the best pick. I'll also mention that he's really nice for Abyss Floor 107, I think. That's the one where we have to fight against Pavel and his dog. It's just because we have to spam sleep the dog on this floor. There's not really any other floor where he's used. Yep, this one. We have to spam sleep the dog. So you can use him here if you haven't cleared this floor yet, but beyond that, he has no PvE usage, really. So next up in A tier is Sylvain Sage Vivian, and her recent buffs have made her a really good DPS for RTA and Guild War. And now she starts off the battle with full focus, and then when she has full focus, she'll activate S1 as an extra attack. So you can pretty much kick off the fight and soul burn it if you have tag L's on her or some other way to get souls, and just instantly deal a double AoE that does a ton of damage. Also, she gets the stacking attack and everything after she attacks more. S3 decreases cooldowns of all allies and heals everybody. So pretty strong unit. She also has debuff immunity when she has 3 or more focus, and then if you hit her hard enough, she'll lose 1 focus, but it's a ton of damage reduction. So she's really strong on a bruiser build, or like a slightly tankier build, probably a bit more bulk than this, into teams that don't really have any good way to remove her focus or are super debuff heavy. Or you can build her like this, Destro Torrent, full damage with a bit of speed, and Tagahels for use in aggro or cleave. Just start off with her Soulburn S1, double AoE, and kill everything. And then for Guild Wars, she was really common last season. You would run SSV with ML Cecilia and either Amid, Diane, or ML Arunka was a really common answer into a lot of Renock defenses with ML Arunka. You could Soulburn her S1 and snipe out Renock even if she was hiding behind ML Arunka. Before Renock could cycle a ton. For her builds, Lifesteal is a little bit safer for Guild War, I would say, but you can probably make the Destro build work in certain defenses, just need to watch out about her HP and whatnot. Next up is Mediator Kawerik, who's rounding out A tier. I think Mediator Kawerik is a pretty good cleanser. It just depends on what you own, really. Aram is coming out, and she's going to lower his value a little bit, I think, because she covers some of what he does. Mediator Kawerik, he has AoE, immunity, and attack buff, and cleanse on his S3. And also, when the skill is available, it decreases debuff durations by 1 turn, so you can kind of shrug off any 1-turn hard CCs like Sleep or Stun. It won't work for 2-turn debuffs like Mort's Fear, but Sweet Miracle helps with that, as this also reduces debuffs by 1 turn. And then his S2 is a pretty big barrier. This is actually like pretty nice sustain, the size of the barrier. Plus he's got CR push on his S1, also pushing the ally with the highest CR, so pretty good cycling and team utility and everything. Aram is going to, like, because right now in RTA, Handguy's main use is use him into Emalua really fast with Teo Spear and pretty much cleanse off all of the provokes. Aram also kind of does that in the sense that she just instantly drops a 3-turn immunity. So we'll see like how his usage works. The other thing about Aram is she doesn't actually have a cleanse, which could be an issue. Depending on team comps, maybe she just gets her immunity stalled out. Though she does have her S3 to help speed things up. Handguy actually has a cleanse. And then in Arena and Guild War, the main usage I used him in was against certain Harsetti teams. Especially like Harsetti Mort, run him with Sweet Miracle and block the Mort Fear, but Aram also just does that because she gives 3-turn immunity. So, we'll see how much Handguy gets used. Like, I think him being a different element for AI baiting, having attack buff, and having an actual cleanse could definitely be useful against certain defenses. But it remains to be seen how much he'll be used. I do think he's still a pretty solid cleanser, also just because a lot of the units coming up are not very fantastic. I think 3rd best is a good spot for him. Especially if you find yourself watching this in the future and Aram's not available, and you find yourself without any real cleansers, then Handguy is a pretty solid choice. His build is kind of just speed, HP, and defense. I think the RTA Handguys are a lot faster for the Emalua counters. The effectiveness isn't really necessary, I just kind of have him on spare gear, so it's just whatever's left over for me. He's also pretty great for Ancient Inheritance, though that's not really something you should pick an ML5 for. It's just worth mentioning, I guess. Also, if you don't have Sweet Miracle, you can just give him Warhorn or something. I don't know where mine is. There it is. Yeah. Some sort of artifact to help boost your team stats, or if you don't have that, just anything that boosts his CR and helps him cycle could be nice as well. Down in the B tier, these units are a lot more niche. You might find yourself never using these units, if anything. Remnant Violet is an evasion DPS. I'm not even going to show his build. He's pretty inconsistent sometimes, just because his evasion isn't 100%. You typically use him with openers like Emalpera or Amid, and just try and drop his S3 nuke. And with the Swift attack, he'll also be able to S3 instantly get 100% CR and then S1 again. He does do a pretty good amount of damage on his S3, but there's a lot of better DPSs in that slot, I think, and then if you're playing in Harsetti games, New Kid Addon's just going to be better than him in general, and he doesn't really get used anywhere else in PvP, like Arena or Guild War, just because of how inconsistent of a unit he is. And then there's Conqueror Lilias, who is a pretty outdated opener at this point. Like, once in a blue moon, there might be a spot for her on 4-5, or in Lunatic mode, after all of the better openers have been removed, you could pick her, which means that pretty much 99% of people will not be using this unit. there's the potential for shenanigans with Summer Hwa-Young in Guild War, but it's probably nothing significant. There's infinite ways to play Guild War. I think she belongs in B tier down here. Also, address this right now. Her PvE usage has been greatly overrated for years. It's literally just Ancient Inheritance. She does not do anything useful in PvE that other units don't do better. So if people are saying that Conqueror Lilias is good for PvE, not really. It's Ancient Inheritance. You don't need to pick units for Ancient Inheritance. And then we have C tier. C is for cleave, but also bad. It's just Commander Pavel and Astromancer Elena. Both of these units are pretty much completely useless. Pavel starts with 50 Fighting Spirit. If somebody crits, it's once per turn. So like even if you do an AoE crit, it just counts as one crit. And then after 2 people crit on 2 separate turns, he'll fire an AoE with his S2 and CR push himself up. And then his S3 is just a big nuke. He doesn't really do enough damage, and also his S2 being Fighting Spirit makes him weak against anti-resource units, so that, even if he didn't have Fighting Spirit, he'd still have a lot of issues, I think. And then Astromancer Elena blocks counterattacks with her S2 passive, but more exists, so there's not really any reason to use her. And then beyond that, she does generate a decent amount of souls with her S2 and Unseen Observer after somebody uses an AoE, but yeah, there's not too much of a reason to use these units. Both these units desperately need buffs. But that is it for the Fallen Land Moonlight Blessing. It's really... the main difference, I guess, is just that SSV is so much higher now. She's definitely benefited a lot from her buffs. I think Handguy and DDR are roughly in the same spot that they've always been. But yeah, SSV is a lot better now after her buffs. If you already have DDR, she's a pretty good choice, I would say.